What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom Fire Podcast, where we want to stoke the flames of freedom every single day. My name is Kendall Bowman, and ladies and gentlemen, when you think that the corruption just couldn't get any worse, you see things like this. From the Post-Millennial, breaking FBI agent Elvis Chan made false statements when pressed to disclose involvement in the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. This is coming from Representative Jim Jordan out of the House. It has been revealed that a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation made false statements in his testimony regarding the agency's involvement in the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. Elvis Chan claimed during an October 2022 deposition that the FBI had not communicated with Facebook aside from a meeting that took place the day the story broke. New evidence has shown that Chan himself held a follow-up meeting the next day. In the latest edition of the Facebook Files, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Rep. Jim Jordan explained that during his testimony, Chan admitted that the FBI had met with social media giant on October 14th of 2020, the day that the Hunter Biden laptop story was first reported by the New York Post. He also admitted that Section Chief of the Foreign Influence Task Force, Laura Dimlow, had told executives that the agency had no comment on the matter after another agent admitted that the story was real. Chan, a repeat Democratic Party donor, then claimed that he was unaware of any further communications between anyone at Facebook and anyone at the FBI related to the Hunter Biden laptop story. As Jordan explained, this was completely false, drawing attention to internal documents obtained by the committee proving that Chan had a secret follow-up call with Facebook on October 15th, the very next day, despite having claimed in his deposition that he had no internal knowledge of that investigation. The documents showed that Chan said there was no current evidence to suggest any foreign connection or direction of the leak of information related to Hunter Biden as published in the New York Post story. Is there any wonder why the Biden DOJ has so far stonewalled the committee's efforts to interview Agent Chan? Jordan asked, vowing to continue to fight the censorship industrial complex and protect the First Amendment. Guys, this leaves you to wonder. What else are they lying about? We've asked this question on the show before. What else could they be lying about? Now, we know what a lot of the Twitter files that came out when Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he released many of them out into the public. We know a lot of what happened with Twitter. I would say that it's more than likely that a lot of what was going on with Twitter was also happening with Facebook, and it appears that that is what is happening. But the FBI lying to cover up Joe Biden's wishes to destroy this story, in my opinion, is 100% election interference. And now, of course, they want to throw Donald Trump in prison. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this story, guys. I'm sorry. I should have pulled up this story before. But I didn't know if I was going to talk about it. But this is just the perfect time to bring up this story. From Trending Politics, Justin Fani Willis to charge Trump under RICO law in Georgia. I apologize. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is reportedly preparing to charge former President Donald Trump under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act in Georgia, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, for those of you who don't understand what this is a law that was passed. There's a federal law, but then Georgia also has a state law for it. Basically, it's a law that is able to break up mafias and things like that. They are bringing these charges against him because they are saying that he tried to overturn the 2020 election. Okay? Now, with the federal charges, and I'm assuming in this case as well, they're going to have to prove that he knowingly knew that he was lying and that he, was purposely like they're going to have to prove that he knew that he had actually lost and was still trying to overturn the election. Ultimately, that's not going to happen because that's extremely difficult to prove. We all know that Donald Trump really does believe that he won the 2020 election. like that's a fact. Like we know that he thinks that. Like, okay, no, whether or not you whether or not you believe him doesn't really matter. Like, we know that that's what he believes. But ultimately, this Hunter Biden story that was covered up, there was, I believe, 17% of Biden voters had stated after the fact that if they had known about the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, then they would not have voted for Biden. Now, 17% of Biden voters is more than enough to overturn the election and give Donald Trump the win, if that poll is true, of course. That, in my opinion, is election interference. Where are the charges? Where are the charges from Republican DAs? Because, mind you, I mean, this election, it affects your state. Ultimately, if he did any kind of campaigning in your state at all, where's the charges, guys? Where are the Republican DAs? Where are they at? Putting charges against Biden, or at least against Hunter Biden, or at least against these FBI agents. Guys, we live in a world where the Republicans are spineless. Republicans have become spineless. And the Democrats are doing everything in their power to hold on to power. They will do anything that is necessary. Guys, this right here, this is the type of stuff that scares me. Ultimately, and I know that might sound stupid to you, but let me just explain. Let me work this through. These people lied. We know that they've lied. Yet there's not a single Republican DA in the country that is willing to do an investigation. And the Republicans in the House and the Senate are so spineless that they will allow these scumbags to get away with doing this. So you have an entity in our country that basically has all the power that it could ever want, but no overarching authority over it. This is a hotbed for tyranny. It's a hotbed. And that is what we are going to continue to get. Like, I'm sorry. As of right now, the tyranny that we have seen is on the level of like, like a little, banana republic out, doesn't really, it's not really that big. Like, yeah, it is tyranny, but it's not really that big of a deal. We haven't reached Stalin levels yet. Okay. We haven't reached Hitler levels yet. But I'm telling you, if we do not vote in the coming elections, and we do not primary these Republicans, these spineless Republicans, and put in people who actually have a backbone and will actually stand up for the American people, if we do not do that, I'm telling you, those levels of tyranny are coming, at least in my opinion. Because it's the only logical conclusion, because the FBI is only going to continue to get away with more and more things. The CIA is only going to get away with more and more things. Democrats like Biden are only going to get away with more and more things. Guys, I'm not saying that somebody like Donald Trump is going to solve all of our problems. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because Donald Trump himself has a lot of issues, okay? But he's the only one out of all of the candidates in the Republican side. He's the only one that is talking about bringing justice against these people. He's the only one. He's the only one that's talking about getting in there and purging all of these people out of the system. The only one. Guys, we are at a breaking point in our country where we have a major decision to make. This is extremely important. This next election, in my opinion, is the most important election that we've had in a long time because it's going to tell us where our country is going. Are we going to continue to free fall as a nation until we splatter on the ground like street pizza? Or are we going to turn ourselves around, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and become a great nation again? Are we going to have rule of law again? Are we going to, have people who actually get charged and get thrown in prison when they break the law? Are we going to have our rights again? Or are we going to continue to have the ATF come after our Second Amendment rights? Or are we going to continue to have the FBI censor us and destroy our First Amendment rights? Like, can I just explain to you guys, like, the first revolution in this country, the revolution that started this country, happened because of taxes. Specifically, one of the biggest taxes that one of the things that caused the Boston Tea Party was, I want to say it was like a 3-cent tax on tea. Guys, this very country that we're sitting in right now has had revolutions for less than this. For far less than this type of tyranny. Guys, we are reaching a breaking point where we are going to have to make a decision as a nation. Now, I'm not saying that we need some kind of hot revolution or hot civil war. That's not what I'm saying. And I hope, good God Almighty, I hope that is not what eventually comes of all of this. But guys, the corruption just keeps getting worse. We got this story from Just the News. Silk Road paved with cash. Court records confirm millions flowed to Biden family from China. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but China is just about the largest enemy that our nation has. Yet the man that is currently leading our nation has been getting millions from our enemies. Why? Why exactly have they been taking money into their direct bank accounts from China? Well, considering that we just talked about how Biden received bribes from Burisma to get a prosecutor fired, that was confirmed. Considering that we just saw that, I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume that he was being bribed for certain things. Now, what those certain things are, we have no idea. But ultimately, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that he was receiving bribes from the Chinese government. Now, I don't know if we've forgotten, but back in 2020, back during the last administration, we used to call that, what was it called? Oh, collusion with a foreign entity, with a foreign government. You remember that? You know when they said, Donald Trump colluded with Russia to win the election. Oh, Russian collusion. He's a Russian agent. Well, what the heck is this then? What the heck is this? We have court records confirming that the Biden family has received millions of dollars in bribes from China. Our biggest enemy as a nation. Let's get a little deeper into this story. In the end, there really was a Silk Road of money that flowed from China to the Biden family's coffers, despite Joe Biden's insistence of the contrary. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware, which charged Hunter Biden with tax and gun crimes last month, released to a federal court last week a now scuttled plea deal that affirmed the presidential son got millions himself from Chinese sources in 2017 and 2018 alone. That included money from a Chinese energy firm as well as legal payments from a Chinese executive convicted of bribery. The records confirm, reporting from investigative author Pete Schweizer's book Red-Handed, just the news stories and investigations by Congress that date to 2020, when Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican from Wisconsin, and Chuck Grassley, a Republican from Iowa, revealed bank transfers from Beijing to Biden accounts. Lawmakers told Just the News last week that the size of the payments from the Communist China and Joe Biden's efforts to conceal them raise larger questions about whether such monies to his family caused the president to take actions like refusing to shoot down a Chinese spy balloon or shuttering the FBI's main Chinese counterintelligence program, rooting out spies in U.S. academia. Do you see how dangerous this is yet? I don't know if you guys have seen this. There have been videos circulating on the internet for months now of military-aged Chinese males coming across the southern border into the United States. So we've got military-aged men from communist China coming across the southern border into the United States, and they tell you that they're here for work. They tell you that that's why they're here. But ultimately, we have no idea. Now, recently, we've also had attacks on our power grid. We've had attacks on oil pipelines. Guys, we have no idea who these people are. We have no idea why they're here. And we could never know because people like Biden completely tore down the counterintelligence program that we had to find out things like that. And you would ask yourself why, and then you see, oh, they paid him to do that. And the fact, once again, is this. Republicans are spineless. Because this right here absolutely deserves some kind of prosecution. Absolutely. Guys, it comes down to the November election. We have to take back the House. Well, we've got the House, barely. We've got the House. We need to take back the Senate. And we need to get back the White House. If we can control all three branches of government, then maybe there's a chance we could get some justice. Maybe there's a chance that we could see some things fixed in this country. But guys, we cannot forget what these years have been like under Joe Biden. We can't. Because we always need to remember just how bad it can get. We have a man in our White House who is acting basically as an agent for the Chinese government, taking down counterintelligence programs here in the U.S. that are built to counteract Chinese intelligence. He's taking those programs down, making it easier for China to use their intelligence programs here in the U.S. That is exactly what has happened. And then we find out, oh, he's being paid to do so. Guys, this election, like I said, is the most important election that we're going to have in a long time. Not talking about November of 2023, November of 2024. We know that Joe Biden's most likely going to win his primary election because the Democrats are never able to admit when they made a mistake. It's like, oh, we put the wrong guy in office. Our bad. oh, our bad. This guy's a puppet. Yeah, sorry. No, they're never going to admit that. They're too prideful for that. Republicans, they call themselves out all the time. I mean, we call out our own all the time over here. But on the left, they're too prideful. They can't do that. They'll never do that. They'll never admit that they put the wrong guy in office. I honestly would love, like, if we had to have a Democrat, I would be fine with a guy like RFK Jr. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of Democrats, but if we just absolutely had to have one, I would be fine with him, because he's not an establishment guy. Ultimately, at least you would think that from what he's been saying and the things he's been talking about and what his family history is. But ultimately, I believe that Donald Trump is the best candidate that we're going to get out of this cycle. Okay? Out of this election cycle. Now, you can scoff at that, but this type of garbage cannot continue. And if we get anyone else, nobody else has talked about going after these people like Donald Trump has. Guys, this next election is important, man. You have to get out and vote. Stop being complacent. Stop saying, "Oh, well, if your vote actually mattered, then they wouldn't let you do it." It's like, okay. Listen, bro. Saying things like that. Here's the thing. I can't confirm whether or not things like that are true. And ultimately you can't either, because you're just saying some random innuendo that doesn't, you don't have any real evidence to back up what you're saying ultimately. But saying things like that, it demoralizes everyone around you and makes them not want to go vote. And that is exactly how the corrupt Democrats win. So if you want to keep losing, then go ahead and keep saying that to everybody. But I believe we need to go to the box office. We need to vote, and we need to vote so overwhelmingly that we completely overpower the system to where they cannot cheat. Now, I'm not saying that there was cheating. Well, actually, I kind of am, because we do know that up in Pennsylvania, they went against their own state constitution in order to change the laws in the favor of Democrats. But, I digress. Guys, once again, very important elections coming up in November of 2023 and in November of 2024. Get off your butts and go vote. Go get other people to go vote. Go do early voting if you have to. If you're not going to be able to be there on election day, go do early voting. Guys, this type of stuff has to stop. We must have a free country again. We must get rid of the corruption. All right, I'm going to have another show coming for you guys I'm going to try to have one coming for you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section, and share the show with your friends. Follow me on all the socials down in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.